lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From the BetMGM Sportsbook at the beautiful Beau Rivage in Biloxi. Welcome to the Monday edition of Live at Lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Jimmy Ott. Jordan Kitchen's back in the studio. Our Monday shows include the Brian Kelly press conference, which will start at 11:40. Then we'll come back to finish up the show following that as LSU gets ready to take on Texas A&M in what has become a monster matchup in the SEC. Jimmy, good morning.
How about that, man? Yeah. Battle of undefeateds, the only undefeateds in the SEC.
So
after opening week, huh?
Right.
We all had this.
Yeah, back media days, okay? You go to media days and everybody goes, okay, what's your hot take? Okay, here's my hot take. Everybody would look at me like I had, cabbage growing out of my head. That A&M and LSU will be the last two undefeated teams in the Southeastern Conference, and LSU's November schedule, by far the worst team on it, will be the Oklahoma Sooners. And that's a schedule that includes Vanderbilt and what we think is a depleted Florida team. Oklahoma, we were looking at this, we're kind of perusing the lines for next week. They are a 21-point underdog in Oxford.
Wow.
In what universe? And it's not even, out of whack. Oklahoma's that bad. And Ole Miss is a 3-touchdown favorite over Oklahoma. Indiana is ahead of Alabama in the national rankings. Vanderbilt is ahead of Alabama in the SEC standings by half game and a tiebreaker.
Army and Navy ahead of Alabama?
Army and Navy. I forgot to look at the rankings here. Let me check it out real quick. Army they're still down in the 23 and 24 slots. Okay. And Alabama's at 15. Of course, the Navy's got their big matchup with Notre Dame this week.
What's the line on that? 7?
11 and a half. 11 and a half. That one I did look at.
They give them hell when they have bad teams.
They do. And Army is off this week, and then Army plays Air Force, so Army will be undefeated for at least another 3 weeks before they get to anybody that.
Those schools are so quarterback dependent, and here's a deal for you. What would Oklahoma's team look like? What kind of season would they be having with Dylan Gabriel?
They would be at least.
They're not bad on defense.
No, that defense is getting tired. Is what?
Sure.
Yes. And they wouldn't be getting tired, at least not to this extent, if he were playing there. At least 2 games better, I would say.
And in the league, the schedule too is just that's
unfair. The schedule was always going to be daunting. I think they would have beaten South Carolina, and I say that having watched South Carolina just roll over them, and I think they would have had a good chance to beat Tennessee.
What's the record now?
They are 4-3.
They should be 3-4 to Auburn. You want to talk about a program? They just how are we going to lose? We're going to winning teams figure out ways to win. Yeah. Losing teams are waiting for something bad to happen.
That's right. I think they would have lost to Texas anyway, but the other two, I would have given them a good chance to win with Gabriel as a quarterback.
South Carolina and who?
Tennessee. They lost that game 25-15. Now Tennessee was in control.
No. Come on. Now that game was more like 41-10.
Yeah,
they really pulled the plug. Remember, that was Nico's first road start.
It was,
and so they were playing really safe with him. But part being safe and part, look, man, Heupel got in and got out.
Yeah, it was like 21-3 at the half, and they just kind of shut it down.
Why take chances?
Half.
Why slow the clock? No, they totally sat on that lead. Totally.
Yeah. So maybe one game better.
And they scored a touchdown with like 2 seconds to go.
They did. They did. LSU's most complete game, a 34-10 win on the road at Arkansas, a game that's usually very difficult for LSU to play. The last 3 games in Fayetteville had been decided by a total of 13 points. LSU was good in all 3 phases of the game. They had a very good running game. Caden Durham had over 100 yards. They averaged about 4.5 yards a carry. They were able to stop Arkansas's run once they got them behind. That was a lot easier. They were able to contain Taylon Green, keep him from doing too much damage outside of the pocket. LSU special teams were extremely sound. You had Damian Ramos made all of his field goals, and Whit Weeks played one of the best games that we have seen a linebacker play. It's ironic, I guess, that he's wearing number 40, and the last time LSU went to Arkansas.
Better than the Ole Miss game?
No, I realize he had a lot more tackles in the Ole Miss game, but here's my case. It's 16-10, and Arkansas has the ball. This is the only part of the game that
there's
Arkansas,
a little stress.
Yeah. Weeks makes the tip and the pick, sets them up at the 2-yard line, and then so that puts them up 2 scores. And then the next drive, Arkansas goes 3 and out. He makes 2 of the 3 plays. On first down, he makes a tackle at the line of scrimmage on the running back. On third down, he makes a sack of Green. Those and Burns was right there with him both times. Those 4 plays swung the game. I put LSU in control of the game, and that's why I say, and he was great against Ole Miss, no argument there. But those 4 plays swung the entire balance and really put LSU in control of the game. So I would say this one, there were maybe not as many tackles, but there were impactful plays.
I think it was kind of, I would say, with that play, that Honey Badger play, he put it away, put the game away.
Yeah, they go up 24-10 at that point.
Yeah, but if you say it's better than Ole Miss, man, it was a hell of a game. But damn, that Ole Miss game was, and I just think Ole Miss is better offensively.
Than Arkansas, yes.
Yeah. So that's part of it. Who you're playing.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, Honey Badger, it's not an LSU thing. It's my favorite defensive player in the history of college football.
Yeah.
No matter. I'll hurt some people's feelings locally sometimes when I speak what's on my mind, but no, that Honey Badger was on a different level than anybody I've ever seen play. I mean, Hugh Green was unbelievable at Pitt. Taylor was great. Ricky Jackson, with Pitt. I mean, we got some. Terry Hogue was one of my favorite players at Georgia when they won that first national championship in 1980. I could go on some others, but Honey Badger did more than any of them. To the point where Les Miles could just, here we come, up the middle, and they'll win games at a high level. But, there's another player at LSU. He's got instinct, had a knack for these kind of things.
I know who I'm thinking of. Let's see if it's the same guy.
Ron Sancho.
Not who I was thinking of.
I mean, anybody who can, pick off the option pitch, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just had a knack for these instinctful plays to be almost like the anticipation.
Yeah.
And that's where Weeks is, man. And how put those 2 plays next to each other. Honey Badger at West Virginia. Mm-hmm. This is the same part of the field.
Yes.
The quarterback's throwing to the left, so he's coming off the right defensive end. He jumps, he pops up, and he almost scores it. I mean, identical.
Yeah.
Identical. And it's going to be All-American, huh? How some of these are reputation. Some of these All-Americans, whoever's All-American last year is going to get it again this year.
And he wasn't on any of the preseason lists. Not that matters to me at all, but maybe to some of the voters that voted for a guy in the preseason want to vote for the same guy. He wasn't on any of those lists because he wasn't even going to be a full-time starter when you went to media day, or wasn't looked at as a full-time starter. Well, I thought you were going to say Casanova, by the way, Tommy Casanova, but. We're talking about some of the all-time greats.
And Casanova was a great and one of many great kick returners too. Punt returners. Yeah. So, I mean, can he field punts?
I mean, Urlacher returned punts in college.
I'm just saying. Who's that?
Brian Urlacher returned punts. The only linebacker I can ever remember return punts.
Kicks.
Yeah, at New Mexico.
Return kicks.
So he Badger, he never seems to take a bad step, which of course is an exaggeration. No player's perfect,
but wait a minute, he missed on the 4th and 1 to bust.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody's perfect. He gambled there.
And that's a spot where you do gamble.
Rarely does he make a false step. He's football fast. I don't know what he runs a 40 in, and I don't care. He makes more good angles, more good steps. He's a sure tackler. He's explosive. He closes really, really well. That first down run after the sack, he had a real good angle to the guy, but he just explodes into him.
Who was the best at that? It was Devin White.
Yeah,
you could be trucking full speed and make the tackle. I mean, never had to kind of break down and stuff. And the other thing, Charlie, we sit here and watch so many games, and I even had to ask Rohan. I said, man, what's the deal with the football IQ of this generation of players? It's really poor. I mean, we see some dumb things, man, over and over. Well, we appreciate a guy with the instincts and football IQ that much more.
I was thinking about that this morning, that the conversation the three of us had yesterday on Football Sunday. I got a theory. It's not the only. They don't watch much football.
Yes.
They don't watch much football. They play, but when they're off, some of them do, but not a lot of them don't.
That's, even, look, my buddies on the team, when at LSU or Shaw and whatever, not all of them watched either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but that's part of it.
That's not the only reason, but I think that has something to do.
They'll watch a synopsis, where they can watch like a 15-minute recap of the game instead of sitting there and watching 4 hours.
Right. And you get, like I do, I guess, that notification your phone sends you every week to say how many hours a day you're spending on your phone. Do you get that?
Yeah.
Okay. 20 years ago, you weren't spending any time on your phone. They're spending 4 hours a day on their phone. And it ain't football, okay? Or most of it's not football.
Right.
So I think that's part of it. Nussmeier, I thought, for the stat line, I didn't think was real indicative of how he played if you're looking for big numbers, but I thought he played a smart game for the most part. He did get away with a couple of throws into coverage that, could have been intercepted, but he got away with it. They moved the sticks a lot, and the average yards per attempt is not as high as it usually is for him. It's about a yard lower than what is usually it, but a lot of those things were on third down. A lot of them moved the sticks, and I thought he played a real composed game. And not for nothing, but the run game finally got going a little bit, and it hasn't to that extent. I know there have been better numbers maybe at some of the rental wins, but this was their best effort, I thought, in the run game against a quality opponent, and it made all the difference in the world. It was a Les Miles type drive, you'll excuse the expression, that salted away 8.5 minutes of the clock to end the game. I mean, I don't think you had the sound on, but the announcers, and I thought the game was over. It was 27-10. No way Arkansas scoring 3 times in 10 minutes. But all through that drive, they're like, Arkansas's running out of time. Arkansas's running out of time. I'm like, man, Arkansas's done. Okay, this is just a matter of when LSU's finally going to give them the ball back, and it didn't happen until there was 2 minutes to go a little over 2 minutes to go in the game. So they were able to squelch any possibility of hope in the fourth quarter that Arkansas might have had.
4 for 4 for 36 yards on the opening drive. You got an interference call as well, so and that was a positive passing play as well. So I just think that in a spot where I think when you come off these emotional spots, you really don't you worry about earlier part maybe a little bit slow and getting going.
Absolutely,
and
the crowd's into it, man. They've had a week off. They're fresh. The spot favored Arkansas. We talked about it all week, and LSU came out and put that away. They took the crowd out of the game.
Tone setter, man.
Yeah,
it was really a tone-setting drive. It was really good, and they mixed it up. It was 5 passes, 4 runs, and the running game that just makes life easier on everybody when you can run the ball. Everybody. So I just thought it was a really impressive, focused drive where. The emotion, it's just college football. That is a very, very difficult spot for LSU. After that emotional walk-off win against Ole Miss, where the stadium was as good as maybe it's ever been, if not really close.
Yeah.
And so, and with something on the line, top 10 teams. So now you've been living in the shadows of Alabama, Georgia, Texas, Tennessee. And now Texas A&M and LSU are the show. And they moved this into the middle of the season, not the traditional spot. I think that LSU Oklahoma game is going to become something. I think that's going to be the rivalry game, and it's not traditional, but I'm fine with it, huh?
I think it has.
That's what I'm saying because of all the other ties.
They're what's left, and that's a really good game.
Okay, but LSU Tulane for a while growing up in New Orleans, sure. Okay, half the city was LSU, half was Tulane. All right, but that's changed, but. They tried this boot thing, and that's nice. I love when Les Miles talked about the boot. big, shiny border war. Talk about the boot. You know, I mean, but it's not. It's not really. There's not. No. Even though there's no history minus the national championship game in 2003, that could be a fun Thanksgiving Thanksgiving Day weekend rivalry or series for sure.
Absolutely, and
kind of going to take the place of Florida, maybe, because you're probably going to lose Florida, right?
At least
you're going to lose
sometimes.
Florida.
Yeah, you're not going to get them every year. You're going to lose them sometimes. I think that it'll be a game that LSU fans will look at way differently than they looked at the A&M series. And they were A&M.
We respect Oklahoma more.
Yes,
they've got more history. Yes,
absolutely. And it may not be this year. This year, Oklahoma is way down. Okay. But I don't expect that to be the case moving forward. They will change coaches at some point, and Oklahoma, they simply won't allow themselves to be that bad. This is just an off year for them. They made what looks like a questionable hire. Venables had the resume. He's a lieutenant. He's not a general. They'll make that change at some point, and
look, the extension in the offseason
was dumb, and it probably buys him another year, but he was supposed to be their Kirby Smart, the coordinator that had turned down a bunch of opportunities waiting for the right one. And for Kirby, that was the best thing. Venables turned down a lot of jobs when he was at Clemson. A lot of them we probably didn't hear about in the media, but we know that he was sought after, and he turned down some stuff. He thought this one was the one. I did too. I thought, hey, Oklahoma's a top 10 job. Well, didn't work out. It's not going to work out, I don't think. They'll make a move at some point.
Live here at the Beau Rivage. Charlie, tell them how it was, huh?
Man, we had a great time here yesterday.
A lot of Lions fans, huh?
The Lions fans. I thought last year when the Lions played in the Superdome and all of them, we had that big wave of blue in here, that was just a one-time thing. They're here every week.
They're here every week, but I think this weekend, too, they had sort of a junket.
Okay.
That they
Oh, yeah, they send a plane.
Yes, because there's an MGM property there, and so they got shared points, and, they do a charter and bring them right in here to the Gulfport Airport, but they were into it, man, and it's impressive, and that we talked about, and Chase had a big game, but Penei Sewell and that offensive line is the best offensive line in the league right now, and man, that makes life easy for Goff, and man, is he having the best year anybody in the? I mean, Mahomes is undefeated. He's got more interceptions than touchdowns. How about that?
Here's a stat for you with Jared Goff. There have been 3 halves in an NFL game this year where the quarterback has been perfect. He's got all 3 halves. He was perfect in the first half yesterday. He was perfect in the entire game against Seattle. So, there was not a ball that hit the ground.
Has he always been this good?
No.
Guess what? Sometimes it takes time
get better.
at the position, huh?
Who
who looked better last night? Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
He looked better.
You know what he looked? He looked healthy.
He did.
He looked healthy.
He did, yeah. He looked a little bit better shape.
Yeah. That's part of it. And
that running back's in better shape. Whoever got on maybe Omar Khan, the Tulane grad, put him on a new health plan.
I didn't think that Tomlin, he's a terrific coach. I didn't think he would make the move after a big win like that.
We disagreed with it.
Yeah, we did, and he was right. He knows his team, and not only did Pittsburgh look better last night and Wilson look healthy, but it's something that has a better chance to be sustainable than Fields is running.
I told you this was a year to go under. Oh, no, that we're going to have a losing season, right?
Yeah.
You know that, right?
Yeah. Tomlin, you can set your watch by him, man.
Well, it's fun, man. It's our buddy Bob Mahoney over here with us. We have a good old time, and, man, we even had some golf on yesterday. The horses. Breeders' Cup is a couple of weekends. We'll be over here. You can bet all the Breeders' Cup races at Friday and Saturday. And, man, and that's an LSU off week. So, I mean, you talk about an idea. Come on by and join the fun. The place on Saturday was crazy. Little bit. Some of the Alabama fans got a little out of hand.
Are they unhappy?
Yes, they unhappy.
That's a shame.
Yes, indeed.
That's a real shame.
But, man, it's just – and Carl, if you come here, make sure you introduce yourself to Carl and thank him. Thanks for having us. And, man, it's just a great time. The staff over here of the restaurant, food's good, and it's just a happening event. I mean, it's a place to be on the weekends during football season over here at the Beau Rivage Sportsbook here in Biloxi.
Live at lunch.
They're to have going is that.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Beau Rivage on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, the new LouisianaSports.net, 1045ESPN.com. We'll have a new Handycast for you with some film study with Richard Dixon on YouTube. Google Handycast or search for Handycast. Okay, Jimmy, you want to talk about the game at Austin? You want to talk about the crap thrown on the field and the call at Austin? Where would you like to start with this thing? You want to talk about the 23-0 lead by Georgia at the half? You want to talk about Quinn Ewers being benched and then reinstated?
Boo. I was shocked.
Yes, I thought he was hurt. I'm like, what happened? What did we not see?
I mean, that was right when you think Sark's kind of got it figured out, man, rolling. I mean, okay, they come in their SEC branding now. The best job in the country. You have motivated and excited a fan base that sometimes kind of sits on their hands. Mm-hmm. And not long ago, you had back-to-back years where they didn't even have a player drafted from their team. But, man, it was a 3-hour coronation on ESPN's Game Day, and I think it starts with that because it's like job was done. Vince Young, it's great now. I mean, it's done. Yeah. You hadn't played anybody, nobody. I mean, so that's the thing. Like, come on, man, what have you done? And the gifts finally. Georgia stopped the damn flow of flowers toward this program. Shame on the SEC office, freaking the giving Oklahoma that much more difficult of a schedule than Texas. That's a joke, man. That is an absolute joke. So you go in there and, man, they didn't lose. They got whooped. They got pushed around. And, the one thing we didn't know, I didn't know how good Texas was. They look great. They can only look so they only play the teams in front of them, okay? But they haven't played any. But Michigan's no good. Lost by 2 touchdowns, Illinois. Okay, never really in the game, and the Dogs are back. That was a motivated team. We're tired of it. We get the nobody respects us fatigue. But when you're the underdog for the first time in 50 games, they're certainly going to use it. And they played like Georgia teams have played. And so they brought it to them. I think if they played again, it would be much more competitive. But welcome to the SEC, you son of a, I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, welcome to the SEC. I mean, this love, it ain't supposed to be like that. You know my feelings, and we've had heated discussions about, whether they should have been invited in the first place. Okay, but man, it's just enough because Charlie, we debate if the SEC benefits. There's no debate if Texas benefit. Huh? No. Okay. So enough of this damn love for Texas, man. And of all the games I bet on Saturday, I didn't bet the game. I didn't have a great feel for it. But man, that was a different Georgia team. That was not the same Georgia team that played against Mississippi State. That was not the same defense that played against Alabama. It was not. Alabama went up and down the field on them. And so, I mean, it was impressive. But Georgia's not perfect either. And Beck is a little bit of an interception machine, and he's got a ton of talent. But and I was kind of bummed out because the NIL, the pay for play, is only widening the gap between the haves and the have-nots. And you're seeing the money, the affiliation with the Big Ten, the SEC, basically trying to secede from the rest of college football and take a few with them. But man, this thing is more balanced than ever. That's no hyperbole. It's that, Army, Navy, Tulane. We bet them every week in the money line parlay. Every week. It's just guaranteed. And we go on from there. BYU's undefeated. And they're not a great team. And the top teams are all beatable. They're all beatable.
Every one of them. And I said that on a post game on Saturday night. There's not Oregon's number one, but they're clearly beatable. They had 2 games come down to the gun, and they won both of them. But they could have lost either one, and one of those was to Boise State. There's nobody out there that I look at and go, wow, okay, those guys are going to be hard to beat. And I can't really remember a year like that, maybe 2007, because there was great parity up at the top. But even that year, Ohio State in the regular season looked like the best of the bunch. So this is the parity, and there's not that game on LSU's November schedule where you go, oh, man, they're going to have to be perfect. It was like that for Alabama every damn year. I mean, even the times they beat them with Saban in the last 15 years, you had to have a Heisman Trophy, guy at quarterback, or you had to have that once-in-a-lifetime defense like you had in 11, with Honey Badger on it. So you don't have that on there. I want to talk about the quarterbacks for a second because these are supposed to be the two best quarterbacks in the SEC, two of the best quarterbacks in college football, two of the highest picks in next spring's draft, and neither one of them are doing anything that would make you go, wow, that's a guy I want to hit my way.
They have at times.
At times.
Yeah.
But this is recently. Ewers, minus the benching, in his last 3 games, has thrown 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, has thrown for 410 yards. That's in
total?
In the last 2 games, 410 yards, yeah. And Beck he's completed about 62% of his passes, which is fine, but it's nothing special. Beck has completed 65% of his passes. 3 of the 5 SEC games, he's been under 240 yards. He's thrown 8 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. If I'm talking about a top 5 pick in the draft, if I'm talking about a all-conference quarterback, the TD to interception ratio has got to be better than 1-to-1, and that's what Beck is in conference play. They played 5 conference games. Okay, so we got a little sample size here. He's a wonderful talent. I mean, you look at him in a uniform, and he looks like John Elway. He's 6'4". He's 225 pounds. He's got this big old arm. He's a pretty decent athlete.
He's not consistent.
He's not consistent, and the moments at times have been too big for him. Now, I give him credit. When that game got to 1 score, and they were backed up on their end, and it was 3rd, and I want to say
he had some drops too, Charlie.
He had some drops. But the biggest throw I thought he made in the whole game, it was 3rd, and I want to say 11 on when Georgia hit.
He makes some pressure throws.
Texas had just gotten it to 1 score, and he completes about a 30-yard pass, and it got him out of jail, and they ended up scoring on the drive, and they opened the lead back up. So he's capable, but neither one of these guys, I guess my point is neither one of these guys are playing at an uber high level. Somebody asked me on the postgame Saturday night, would you trade Nussmeier for any quarterback in the league right now? And I thought about it for a minute, and I said, right this second, no. I don't know that anybody's – and Nussmeier got away with a couple the other night like he has a couple of times this year. But, no, as a matter of fact, if I had to win one game and the talent was equal on the rest of the team, after Nussmeier – I'm going to Nashville, Pop.
Charlie,
I'm going to Nashville.
Diego Pavia is the best quarterback in the league right now.
He is playing the best.
We're not talking about pro prospects.
Right, none of that.
This is college football.
Right now,
keep in mind, what do we always talk about? We say, okay, yeah, he's really good. Even the Jalen Hurts, how many times did he go against a team that was more talented than him? How many more times did he have to go against a defense that was more talented than his supporting cast? Well, guess what, Pavia?
Every time.
It's every time.
For Hurts at Alabama, never. At Oklahoma,
one time.
Maybe
once. Trust me. Oh, no.
We were at the game.
This is my corner of the store. No, one time.
We were at the game.
No, they played Texas was the only one to clear, and they clearly out-talented Texas in those games. They never played anybody else. Charlie, these numbers are worse than him. These are horrible numbers. What's my favorite passing attempt? To give my
yards per attempt.
4.3.
Yeah.
So yards per attempt and TD interceptions. 4.3 an attempt.
That's for Beck.
Yes.
Yeah.
In 3 interceptions and no touchdowns. That is worse than that. Now, my eyeballs, he didn't play that bad. That's horrible. That's not like inconsistent.
Yeah.
That's really weak, and they still beat him like a drum the way they did. Ewers, on the other hand, looking at him, the past few games, like you're talking about, his yards per attempt was under 5 for the first time this year. So both quarterbacks, and what does that tell you, Charlie, too? It's about who you're going against. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a little bit different than Texas San Antonio and Colorado State. Yes, it is going to be a little tougher. So both of them, which tells you the defenses are they've got players on the defense, and I still think they're. Who's the most complete team? Will Howard's not perfect. That's for damn sure.
No.
Gabriel's playing well for Oregon, but they're more than beatable. And this is, and I'm sorry, but this is not just a nice little story. Everybody wants to, pull for the underdog in March Madness. And this thing is kind of shaping up to be like college basketball. But Indiana, till Saturday, was a cute story. Cute story. That's a different level of respect I have for them. The way they took apart a 5-1 team, a really good coaching staff, and I mean,
and their best player doesn't come out of the locker room for the second half because he's got
playing the second half, which is your backup quarterback. Which who looks good on that? Huh? Signetti looks even better.
Yeah.
When he could do it. You said it. I didn't even recognize. I just kept seeing him going up down the field. We were watching a bunch of games, and I mean,
you know who that was? That was their starting quarterback last year. He started about half their games last year and was, nothing. And he's being coached.
They're being coached. How are they not going to lose him?
The game, he's not playing this week, Rourke, and they get Washington. That's a tough game. That's a tricky spot for them.
But we can come back and talk about the officials because
have to.
That's something else.
Bad.
Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title, Chad Reynolds at Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings. 296-0060. Full service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Fast, friendly service is what you get every time you call 296-0060. Chad Reynolds and Legacy Title. Live at lunch, live from the Ravage on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Beau Rivage on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In the third quarter,
do your spot, boy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Pierpont store and the Thibodeau store. If you're doing home improvements, let them help you out, not just with your supplies, but with the expert instruction that you can do it yourself and save yourself some money. Their experts will walk you through. It's so much better than a YouTube video, whether you're, installing some lights or you're pouring some concrete, you're doing some paint, they'll match up any colors, anything that you need, power tools, hand tools, plumbing supplies, carpentry supplies. They're going to have it. They're going to be able to help you out. Down to the Thibodeau store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau. You pick up crawfish and jambalaya pots, custom-made Cypress furniture, lots of different grills and big green egg cookers and fishing supplies if you're headed down to the coast. Go online if you'd like to order and have your items delivered, including lumber out of the Pierpont store. The website is ThibodeauStore.com.
Trust me, the Thibodeau store takes precedent over the officials.
They do. Okay. Everybody really should. Third quarter of the Georgia-Texas game, Texas intercepts a pass. They return it down to the Texas 9-yard line. Texas is flagged for defensive pass interference. The officials gathered to discuss the play because there was a load of crap being thrown onto the field.
I didn't see him. I didn't see
on the pass interference.
No, I think the delay in the showering of beers came before.
After the flag.
No, I didn't think they intended on cuddling and discussing this call.
They did not. This is the official statement from the league, which says, at the time, the calling official reported that he had erred and the foul should not have been called. Consequently, Texas was awarded the ball at the 9-yard line. The original evaluation of the penalty was not properly executed. It is unacceptable to have debris thrown on the field at any time. The disruption of the game is going to be reviewed by the conference office in relation to the SEC sportsmanship policies and procedures. And then they did issue last night a $250,000 fine to Texas. That's similar to what you get for rushing the field. Where you want to start? Here's where I want to start. This is a judgment call. You cannot pick up a flag for a judgment call. I don't care how bad the call is. I saw the worst call in the history of football at any level in the Superdome. Cost the Saints a trip to the Super Bowl, and Roger Goodell said, "I'm sorry." And, you can't pick the damn thing up. I'm sorry. You just can't. You are setting a terrible precedent. The other terrible precedent you're setting is Kirby Smart said it after the game, and he's right. All you got to do if you're unhappy about a call is start throwing stuff onto the field and hope that the officials take the time that it takes to clear all that stuff and change their minds.
It's precedent has been set. You don't like a call, throw a bunch of crap on the field. Yeah. You got a chance.
Because what do you care that the school's getting fined? Ain't your money. They fine them $2.5 million. What do you care?
They'll try and do maybe like the Dodgers did, and kind of figure out some of who it was, identify them, and ban them from buying tickets and things. They can do that, and I'm sure Texas might be doing a little bit of that.
They're saying that they're going to do that.
These SOBs have been in the league for 6 months, man, 3 months, whatever it is. And come on, man, we give it. They expected that call too, and they got it. I mean, what is that, man? I thought it was supposed to be a tough school to get into, a little bit of a sophisticated group.
I laughed when they said Texas is entitled more than Alabama. I said there ain't no way. I think I might have been wrong on that one. So I was glad. I was actually rooting for Georgia.
How could you? I'm nauseated with the Flowers again, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah,
yes.
they're very, very easy to root against. Here's what really, really pisses me off. The league can look at film and find a school for their fans rushing the field after a big win, like they did with LSU. They can go look at the film, and they can find Texas $250,000 because a bunch of drunks out of the student section and maybe drunks out of the regular start throwing bottles onto the field, plastic bottles onto the field. But they can't look at the film and see what everybody saw in that Alabama-Tennessee game, which is Alabama's coaches sending a guy out onto the field, run onto the field, fall down before he even gets to the numbers to stop the clock. You can't see that. It's in the damn sportsmanship policy. They are allowed to enforce this. They don't even have to go change the rule. All they got to do is enforce it, and they refuse to do it. I've said this so many times. I don't. The
only difference between Ole Miss and the Alabama thing was the coach actually made contact with the thing, and so like when you coach in third base, even in Little League, you cannot touch they're out. Right. You cannot assist. So they've taken it another step.
Instead of signaling, they're pushing them out there.
That's where Sankey leg, okay, and since it's pandemic, we giving him a lot of credit because he showed some leadership. He worried about his conference. Dude, come on, man.
This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing to every team that does this, and if LSU were doing it, I would call them out too. It's Bush League. It is easily fixed. This is an easy fix. You don't have to put in any additional cameras or anything. You got plenty. You don't have to change the policy. The policy's in place. This is an easy fix, and they refuse to do it, and I cannot tell you why. And I don't want to be redundant. I've said this a million times. This is not for the officials on the field to regulate. These are things that happen behind the play. They happen behind the huddle. They happen from the sidelines. This is not where the officials' focus is supposed to be. This is on the league. And they won't do anything about it, and it's embarrassing. And it's
embarrassing.
Bush League, and
no argument.
I really hate
how can you argue it?
I really hate it.
You know what? Let me give you. So you have the NFL, and they've got this where they call it replay assistance when they'll step in.
Essentially, a guy in the God spot. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And man, how efficient does it work?
They've gotten really good at
it. So instead of this going on for about 5 minutes and reviewing to see if it was a lateral or an incomplete pass when they throw kind of sideways, no. They say, boom, no, that was an incomplete pass, or coming off the hand, is it a fumble or an incomplete pass when the quarterback's getting hit and loses the ball when he's about to throw? I mean, we're seeing this. The cameras are showing. This is pretty.
It's easy.
Now, are there some that will be gray area? Yeah, but the ones that are really easy peasy, you gotta because everything that they do, like you said, I mean, and man, and the NCAA moves at a glacier rate, huh? Yeah. But they sure fix that rule, huh?
Yeah, Dan Lanning outsmarted them and put 12 guys on the field. By Tuesday, they had fixed it.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Yes. And so, how much more do you have to be embarrassed? Do you have to where the leagues? I mean, wake up, Sankey.
And I'm not blaming the kids. They're doing what they're coached to do. My solution. First time, it's $25,000 to the coach and $50,000 to the school, which is no money. I get it. Second time, it doubles. Third time, it doubles. You do it a fourth time, we're going to suspend you. And you're going to be suspended for league games. We're not going to suspend you for Utah State, okay? We're going to suspend you for a league game. And if you do it again after that, we're going to suspend you for the rest of the year. We're going to put a stop to this, and they won't do it.
It's a bad call originally, but I've seen way worse, okay? And that was just you just can't. You cannot, like you opened up with, and I said the same thing. You can't pick up the flag on a judgment call. It's just the way it is. So it's the way it is.
Bad calls are part of the game.
You throw the flag for a reason.
Yeah.
I mean, don't throw the flag. I mean, and that's where the officiating now, like we saw, the Vikings receiver clearly stepped out of bounds, but he fumbled after, but you let the play out, and they did that. And the lines ran it all the way back or whatever, but no, he was out. But you can always go back and correct that. But once you blow it dead,
That's it.
No, you can't. So
in baseball, you let the runners continue because you can always send them back.
And look, we're in an era, Charlie. They're playing more games on Thursday night in high school because nobody wants to officials because they're treated like crap. Okay, so we got to understand that. But this one is the white hat's got to say no. We can't do this. Oh. No, the white hat is there for a reason. Yeah. He's an experienced, he's a veteran. He's a veteran official, and he's a respected official. I'm sure they didn't send the weakest crew to Austin this past weekend.
I would think they got the A team.
You know,
you would hope.
I mean, what are you doing?
Bad,
what are you doing?
Bad.
Yes, indeed. So take us time out.
We'll take a break here at the Beau Rivage in Biloxi. Live and
love to you would look and all.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Beau Rivage on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Hey, this Friday, man, my boy Jim Urdiales and the folks over at Mestizo in conjunction with Red Cake Events throwing a cool event this Friday at the Manship Theater. We was just at the Manship Theater for the Dinosaur Jr. show. Man, it's my favorite place. For a favorite venue for a concert. So, man, we've got Red Cake Events known for their expertise in event planning. Mestizo, of course, for their mouthwatering Mexican Louisiana cuisine, and joining forces to create a night to remember. So, Mestizo will provide delicious bites to tantalize the taste buds throughout the evening for VIP guests. Highlight of the night will be a performance by Metalachi, the world's first and only heavy metal mariachi band from Los Angeles. Their unique fusion of metal and mariachi promises to rattle the bones of attendees and rock the Manship to its core. Following the Metalachi performance, celebration continues in the Manship with a special screening of the cult classic film Rocky Horror Picture Show. Charlie, bring your rice, adding a thrilling twist to the event's festivities. General admission and VIP tickets are available at manshiptheater.org. At manshiptheater.org. So you can have the optional double feature with the tickets and also the viewing of the Rocky Horror Picture Show as well. That's this Friday night over at the Manship, and man, it's going to be a cool, creative night out and something different for sure. Check it out. So again, for tickets, go to manshiptheater.org.
We talked about some of the rough quarterback play. How about some great quarterback play? Last year we watched Jaden Daniels drag a really bad defense and do everything he could. This year, though he's not nearly doing it as much as with his legs as Daniels did, that award goes to Cam Ward, who another monster performance in a big high-scoring win from Miami. Maybe they shouldn't have got the call against Virginia Tech. Maybe it took a miracle for them to come back against Cal. They were in basically a shootout with Louisville on Saturday, but they've won them all. He's got 24 touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. He had 4 touchdowns in the game and no picks on Saturday. His lowest throwing game of the last 5 has been 319 yards. Right this second, if I had a Heisman vote, I think it might go there to Cam Ward.
He's been really good. Charlie's averaging 362 yards a game. 362 yards a game.
And he can run, too. He doesn't run as well as Daniels did last year, but he's made a lot of plays with his legs.
I mean, he's mobile. I mean, that's we've got, not super athletic, but, you know, he's not a fast guy, but he can move.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, whether it's to buy him some time or the thing is he's just been more consistent this year.
And he made a throw in the back of the end zone on the move on Saturday that I didn't know he had that kind of arm. This was a laser into the back of the end zone. Looked like it was headed for the seats, and he drills a guy right there on the back line for the touchdown. He's
what is his TDs, interceptions for the
24 to 5.
24 to 5.
Yeah.
362 a game, and Louisville just kept matching scores. And
yeah, you needed them all.
You needed every bit of them.
No garbage yards.
And that's why I liked Miami in that game. I thought that their defense is not. It is not championship caliber. All the teams, SMU, Clemson, Miami, still keep winning.
Yep. Take a break. Come back with hour number 2. We're here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at the Beau Rivage, live at lunch. 104.
Cleaned up that clear.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Beau Rivage on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Over here at the Beau Rivage again, as we alternate weeks doing shows and Sundays on Football Sunday between here in Biloxi at the Beau Rivage and also at the Queen Sportsbook in Baton Rouge. So we'll be back at the Queen this coming Sunday, and then we'll be back down here in a couple of weeks. And in a couple of weeks, it's also Breeders' Cup. Now, a lot of sports books in the area, now none in Louisiana have horse racing, but very few have horse racing, but we do have the races here. We were betting some Santa Anita in Belmont Gulfstream yesterday, so you can bet the races over here for next 2 weeks from now. Breeders' Cup live from Del Mar, California. That's right.
You familiar with the place?
Yes, the workers know me, Charlie. To be honest, so to give you a short story here, I forgot the tickets back at the house for opening day. So I said, all right, guys, y'all go in. I'm going to go to where the media and see if I got to just talk to him, say, look, I forgot I need another one or something like this. I'll go into the gate, and the guy working the gate, welcome back. Yeah. I thought, okay, I'm in. So, I mean,
the face recognition software's got you.
But it is. But not a lot of places take we do have them over here at Beau Rivage. That's gonna be fun. So they have a lot of races on Friday and Saturday. It'll be evening time because of the on the West Coast. But the Richard Stegan in racing, and it's now 2 days. That's 2 Fridays and Saturdays from now. So. We got a big crew. Both of us have crews coming down. Yeah. So part of my crew that goes to Del Mar on an annual basis coming down here, and it's great, man. So whether you want to eat the nice restaurants here, walk across the street to Mary Mahoney's, which I do every time I come down here. So it's just it's nice, man. So I'm excited. That's going to be going. And on Friday, actually, they'll put them on the big screen. So it'll be kind of in the corner on the college football Saturday, and we'll have them on one of our screens in here, a little quadrant where we usually do the show. So, but yeah, that's going to be a fun day, fun weekend.
Big day yesterday for the Washington Commanders. They beat Carolina 40-7 to move to 5-2 on the season, but it was an abbreviated day for Jaden Daniels. Opening run of the game. Daniels got loose for 46 yards. He went down a little bit awkwardly trying to slide and sustained a rib injury. He stayed in the game for a few more plays, but he left after that, went back to the locker room. Marcus Mariota finished the rest of the game. Washington won easily. The Panthers are the worst team in football, but tough deal for Daniels if you're following along on his MVP race, because yesterday could have been a real stat-building game for him, and he had to miss most of it.
Dropped a little bit from 10 to 11 to 1 to now plus 1,400.
Yeah, his mother tweeted out that he's okay. And I certainly hope that
he learn?
Can play. Well, he was trying to slide, and he's just not.
Well, practice it.
Yeah, you got to.
Did you watch the silly show Hard Knocks?
Yeah.
They got their slip and slide. They got their quarterbacks practice it.
It was an awkward slide, and at least he was trying. But, no, it wasn't a very good slide, and he got hit in the ribs. I hope he's back next week, because watching him against Caleb Williams will be a lot of fun, the two rookie quarterbacks. So I hope he's able to play next week. The other thing we watched, that was one of the late games yesterday, was that the Panthers, despite being down – 37-0, didn't bother to put Bryce Young in the game until 3 minutes to go or 2 minutes to go.
And then they just handed the ball off.
Yeah, it was an opportunity for them to get him in the game, and I don't know how much more down they could be on him. I have my doubts about him, but if you can't put him in when you're down 37-0, and maybe Washington's playing a little soft because they're just trying to get the game over with at that point, then when can you put him in? If I'm the Raiders, I'll make a call today. Okay, they had O'Connell got hurt yesterday. Minshew went in. He looked terrible. He turned the ball over 4 times, and neither one of those guys are the long-term answer anyway. I see if I can steal him for a pick, a mid to late pick, and give him the second half of the season. Let me see if I got anything, because Carolina clearly is done with him. I can't imagine, if you can't put him in at that point, that you have any future plans for him. Maybe it's coming from the owner. Maybe the coach doesn't like him. The coach didn't draft him. I don't know. But I thought that was pretty telling.
Well, Canales is credited for being the kind of reviving quarterbacks, with Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Well, he's gone from Tampa Bay. How's Mayfield doing this year?
Pretty good. Yeah.
He went from a solid year to he's having a good year this year, and that's going to be fun to watch tonight. Them against Baltimore. But
and Gino's solid
did you catch the exchange or the kind of Bryce Young and Jaden Daniels pre and post game?
I didn't. No.
Extended, like they're kind of somewhere along the line. I don't know, maybe passing academy or whatever, but they are. Now, they were really
they faced off 2 years ago.
Yeah, I understand, but I mean, there's others that faced off. This was a little extra love showing between these two. It was not, so for whatever it's worth, it's kind of cool. But the Daniel, you gotta, and that's why. Damn it. That's why two things. I've got Washington division numbers, and I'm waiting for this little stretch to be over. Just like Denver, I want them to finish playing this 3-game stretch. I forget who they played the week before, but the Saints with the backup quarterback, and they got Carolina this week. And then I'll look about hedging or middling later. Okay, but I'm going to let them. Same thing with Washington to win the division, and I had to wait. This was a stat builder. I mean, whoever plays Carolina right now is going to put up numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, because Mariota didn't look bad. He's not Daniels, not even close. But he's one of the more qualified backups in the league, huh? With the number of starts he has under his belt?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Bengals win their third yesterday against the lowly Browns.
Hard fought, though.
It was a lot harder. That defense is still playing. The Browns offense can't get out of their own way. Just to prove that it wasn't all Deshaun Watson's fault, they tried 2 of the quarterbacks yesterday and couldn't go anywhere. But the story was Watson's Achilles injury that's going to keep him out for the rest of the year, and you wonder if you'll ever see him in a Browns uniform again. I wondered watching him, and I don't wish this on anybody, but I wondered if that was the end of Deshaun Watson's NFL career yesterday. Because you got to wonder if this injury keeps him out. Achilles is a calendar year, so you're well into the middle of next season. And I don't know that Cleveland is going to wait on that.
Worst quarterback in the league. And
by a lot.
By a lot.
Yeah, and if they were to cut him and absorb that enormous dead money hit, I don't know who would pick him up.
Yeah, I mean, he's had more than enough opportunity. We talk about it all the time. There are about 4 teams in the league right now that aren't playing the best. And Rohan said yesterday, look, Jimmy, one of the first things I learned quick in the NFL, they got to invest in you. You're playing. No matter how bad you look, you're playing. And, I mean, and that's what it's going. But you lose your fan base. You lose this. I mean, and then to the point where they're booing him. And then what they're really booing, they're not booing because they're glad he's injured. They're booing the damn owner.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come off that way. I mean, but nobody should get booed when you go down with an injury. The Philly fans did that to the quarterback. I forget. It might have been Nick Foles who was struggling, and then he got knocked down. And they were booing the heck out of him. He's done. Charlie, think about it. So, did his distractions in his time away both contributed to his declined play? Okay.
Yes.
Just how much we don't know. So now he's going to have injury and be away from the game longer? Well, it's only going to hurt him. That's not the recipe for rebound.
Right.
And no, we've seen enough. He's going to go play for basically like what Russell Wilson's playing for. When the contract's done? Or
my thing is, even if you could bring him in for free, you would. Imagine for a moment that he had been the model citizen off the field, like he was at Clemson, at least
and
as
just
far
to
as
play.
And just
I'm
to
not
play.
Playing him. Yes, indeed.
Right. Okay.
Now you got that too. Yes.
Now imagine he was a middle of the road quarterback, and you had all of this other stuff off the field. You're not signing him for that reason. So it's a double reason that. Charlie, I don't want this guy in my building.
This is not a hot take. This is minus 800.
Yeah,
that was his last time on a football field.
Yeah, and they had promoted, for the Browns' standpoint, they had promoted DTR to second string above Jameis Winston, and they said they announced that right before the game, which I missed because when he went in, we were like, "Where's Winston?" And Winston actually came in relief of him late in the ball game. So they've got a mess. Hey, you said there's teams that are not playing the best quarterback. Who was the best quarterback in Lucas Oil Stadium yesterday in Indianapolis?
Joe Flacco.
There were 3 other quarterbacks that played that none of them were anywhere near as good as Flacco right now, and he's the best quarterback. He's sitting on the sideline.
How painful was that game to watch? If you don't have money on that, how can you watch that?
They almost took it off the screens here at the Beau Rivage, even though they've got 25 screens, okay? It's like we'd rather put on a rerun of Law and Order.
You talk about a horrible beat, which in Miami, too, because you can't fumble twice. This coach from Miami's got to go, too. He's bad. He's bad. The new age guy, the dork. The little nerdy looking guy who's just nice. He's positive, talks like he's stoned all the time. Give me a break. This guy is so underqualified. So underqualified.
You know who could have walked over and talked to Flacco yesterday afternoon because they weren't doing anything? Tyreek Hill and Jaden Waddle.
I mean, they never thrown the ball. These teams, listen, Miami off the bye was getting defensive players back, and that defense played more than well enough to win. Now, Richardson, and here's a guy. I mean, you got to tell. I hope people that are considering Milroe look at Richardson right now because, this guy he just can't throw the ball. Yeah. He can't throw the ball at all. I mean,
he's all over the place. It's a scatter shot.
And they show a screenshot of Flacco, and he's just like kicked back like he's in a recliner.
He's doing a crossword puzzle. He's just sitting there.
He's just sitting there.
He's got nothing to do. He's not going in the game.
The most important position on the team, and here's the best guy in the building, and no, we're going to play with these other guys because we're not paying him enough. Okay.
Yeah. By far the best.
Get what you get when you do things, when you make decisions besides just putting your team in the best position to win.
The sexiest matchup yesterday was the Super Bowl rematch, right? The 49ers and the Chiefs. This wasn't quite as bad as Indianapolis and Miami, but this was an ugly game, too. For these two quarterbacks, these two Super Bowl quarterbacks who combined to throw no touchdown passes and 5 interceptions between the two of them. And
Mahomes is a favorite for the MVP.
And
look at his numbers.
Not playing well, but they're 6-0 and they're the Chiefs, and he's Mahomes. I know why he's favored, but he shouldn't be. He shouldn't be.
But if on this season, he's got more interceptions and touchdowns.
I know. And like I said, they're 6-0, and they're the Chiefs, and he's Mahomes. So
that's a badass defense, man. That defense, man. That Jones is, boy, he's a beast, man. And I thought they were going to drop off because losing a really good cornerback, but they slid the nickel back to the outside, and he's doing fine. That's just a suffocating defense, man. And listen, there was the middle of the season when they hit rock bottom. On Christmas Day yesterday against the Raiders, said, no, we're going to become a power-running team. We're going to pass second and a defensive team. So they went old school and changed their approach, and that's what carried them. But no, this is far from the high-flying Chiefs with Mahomes in it. The guy doesn't give it to Goff. Who's having a better year between Mahomes and Goff? It's not close.
It's not close.
It's not close. Now, Goff's got a great supporting cast, does he not?
He does.
Best offensive line in football.
He does.
He's got weapons. He's got a running game.
Terrific running
backs. Best running game in the league.
Yeah. St. Brown is one of the top receivers in the league. Laporta is a terrific tight end. By the way, Kelsey is a shadow of his former self.
He's doing game shows, too.
I know. He just got way too much on his plate.
Yes.
And he's getting older, too, but he is
No, it is speeding. It is speeding.
Yes, it's accelerating.
What did was it Mick tell Rocky?
Women weaken legs.
Women weaken the legs.
Yeah.
How about me with a quote, Charlie?
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. And
guess what? It's true.
Yeah. and Mahomes, it's a little bit of kind of what happened with Brady at the end in New England. It's like, look, man, I can carry a certain level of receiver. I don't have to have Randy Moss, okay? But you got to give me somebody. And part of this has been the injuries. Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, are out. Kelsey's, on the concert tour. But their level of receivers at this point is about as low. Xavier Worthy's a nice gadget guy because he's so fast, but he's not at this point capable of being a number one receiver in the league at this stage of his career. So Mahomes is having to do, and they're without Isaiah Pacheco, who's
that would be my next,
yeah, big piece. So he is having to do a lot of this without a bunch of help. So one of the reasons, but they're 6-0. They're only undefeated team in football, ugly as it is.
And Purdy, they have to make a decision, on the max contract basically or not, and that was not one. And
I'd be nervous about doing
that. We know about his limitations.
Yeah, they lost Ayuk yesterday for the year. Probably.
Now he hit Ayuk on a in stride.
Yeah,
and he dropped me.
Right, that one wasn't his fault, but it looks like he could be out for the year. We'll find out today.
Don't forget our friends at Los Reyes Mexican Grill on Lee, right across from Mike Anderson's. The Los Reyes menu features a diverse selection of fresh, delicious options from sizzling fajitas and cheesy enchiladas to crispy tacos and hearty burritos. I love that fajita steak burrito with the queso sauce. Good stuff. The guacamole is really good. And, always throw me some fresh jalapenos in there. Love it. Good stuff. Great service over there. Scott and Kyle doing a great job. Miss Blair behind the bar. They're going to put the games on what you want. Whether you're dining in, taking out, or ordering delivery, great delicious dishes over at Los Reyes, sure to satisfy your cravings. Go on by, make sure you tell them that we sent you. Don't forget their happy hours, 2:30 to 6:30, 7 days a week. 7 days a week, including 20-ounce house margaritas for just $8. Los Reyes Mexican Grill on Lee, right across from Mike Anderson's.
Live at the Beau Rivage, live at lunch.
Seasons, Tennessee.
Jimmy, Charlie, and Troy. Three best buddies sitting around talking sports bets. Let's welcome in Troy Macker from Bet Rivers.
All right, let's go to Troy. He's playing Troy, how'd you hit him on Friday, man? The golf tournament. How'd you do?
We did okay. We finished in 8th place out of 25 teams. So, up there. Came in second on the closest to the pinhole. So that's yeah.
Did second get you anything?
No.
Okay.
Just some confidence in my short game, and I can report that I was nowhere near the leaderboard for the long drive.
There you go. You need to recruit Max, man. When he plays more golf than the law allows. Trust me. So that's his deal. So 6-6 favorites of chalk in the NFL. Now, not all of the favorites were the public side. For instance, I got to believe that, I don't know, who they bet on the San Francisco, Kansas City? We saw a little late movement towards San Francisco. The line went from 1.5 to 2.5. I think the Jets were very public, down at Biloxi. Carl Johnson told us that they were definitely they were all over the Jets against the Steelers. And I'm curious who was the public side on the Lions-Vikings game as well. I would think the Lions, after everybody saw the recency bias there, everybody saw them just dismantle Dallas in a high-profile game.
Yeah, as far as spread goes, the Lions were backed by 66% of the money and 71% of the tickets. Chiefs and 49ers was pretty split. 51% of the spread money is on the Chiefs, although, 64% of the tickets was on the Chiefs. But we took, a lot of money on that game, as you'd expect. Chiefs 4 p.m. games are most wagered on. Sunday afternoon games, and they've actually rated better than some of the primetime games or the London games. The 49ers to win was actually the fourth most wagered on play. That was the most wagered on play of the game, was 49ers to win, with about 57% of the money. So clearly we took some money on the Chiefs, as you'd expect. But yeah, the interesting thing for me is that while if you look at just the against the spread record or over/under record for this week, it doesn't really tell the story because the sportsbook took a pretty big hit. Certainly not as big as last week. That was a historic loss for the sportsbook. But we took losses on 7 or 8 games, and mid to high 6 figures on a couple of those. Obviously, the Detroit game was a big one. The Bills Titans was a big loss for the sportsbook, as you'd expect, with heavy money coming in on the Bills. Eagles Giants, we took a lot of money on the Eagles. Bengals Browns as well, and Commanders Panthers. So games where aside from the Vikings Lions game, games where people are fading a really bad team. With the Giants, Titans, and Panthers. So it was second straight week where the sportsbook is, having to pick stuff up towards the middle of the week, and hopefully can get some of it back heading into next weekend.
How long before we put the Jets in that really bad team conversation? They're running out of people to blame up there,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think their defense is good enough if they're not playing, elite teams. They can't score. They're not a good football team, but they're not at the bottom of the barrel with teams that are just going to be auto fades. The Browns, the Raiders, the Titans. They got a little bit of moxie in them, but they're not very good. And obviously the Panthers.
I was sort of joking just because I'm taking a shot at the Jets because they threw up on themselves last night, but they were worse than I thought. And they were ahead in that game. What is it, 15-6? Thought that they were in decent shape, and then the whole thing blew up.
I mean, and they had some bad breaks, but bad play and bad breaks. And and look, man, Russell Wilson was Fields was winning, but I didn't know, he looked pretty good. He was solid. I mean, they don't need elite level quarterback play, just competent, and he was competent. He can make throws, and he's more comfortable throwing the ball than Fields, and more accurate as well. Troy, let's shift to Saturday. Where was he at? On the big one, Georgia, Texas? Where was he? Where was the money?
Yeah, it was pretty heavy on Georgia plus 3.5. We did take money on Texas as well. But Georgia was the play. It was the most wagered on play. 2.6% of the entire week college football handle was on Georgia to win. And only one game had more tickets, or one play had more tickets. That was BYU, minus 9.5 on Friday night against Oklahoma State. Georgia plus 3.5 was the most popular Saturday play. But yeah, as far as money line goes, 63% of the money and only 48% of the tickets were on Georgia to win. Spread was 57% of the money on Georgia and 54% of the tickets. And the over was at 68% of the money, 72% of the tickets.
Well, Indiana wins and covers again, 7-0 straight up, 7-0 against the spread, and even with what I thought was an inflated number, it wasn't even close, 56-7. And look, man, the backup quarterback came in there and threw for a couple of touchdowns in like 11 yards an attempt. So it was, this Cignetti is there. He's at the top of my list for Coach of the Year. But are they just betting them blind still?
Not as much as you'd expect. I think in large part we take a decent amount of action on Nebraska. This is a year in, year out thing. It's a little bit surprising considering how bad they've been the last couple of years. I think you'll see this week and the next week, pending a win, Indiana is going to be hammered by the bettors. For this game, 74% of the money line money, 70% of the money line tickets. And actually, the public was on Nebraska to cover, 54% of the money. Now, for tickets, it was 54% of the tickets on Indiana. So it was, split there. I watched this whole game, and my gosh, Indiana is electric on offense. So they were getting after the quarterback. Raiola didn't look comfortable. Indiana, they certainly are not playing the same level of competition, like Georgia has in the SEC thus far. But they are not just winning, they're handling their opponent. And that is something to be said when a lot of teams, play with their food. Are they a legitimate national championship contenders? I don't think so, but right now you got to think they have a pretty decent shot at making the playoffs if they continue to win and maybe have a one loss against an Ohio State team that is in that upper echelon.
Troy, what do you think Curtis Rourke is worth, the starting quarterback for Indiana, and I think a Heisman candidate? He's been ruled out of this game against Washington. We're showing that number right now. I don't know. I think you guys have got it at 6.5. You correct me if I'm wrong there, but what do you think Rourke is worth?
He's got to be worth, maybe not a touchdown, but at least a field goal. He was very good. And the issue, the big concern is certainly, I feel like you could potentially play through hand-finger injuries, having suffered many a thumb and many a finger injury in college. I certainly was not throwing the football. So that does impact it. But, it seems like, I'm not sure what the update was, but it was like, a broken nail, or I'm not sure if it was I don't think it was a break or a ligament tear. But again, you having to throw the football and hold the football. I think he's probably worth 3.5 points or something like that. Washington is an okay team, but I certainly would favor Indiana because their running backs were great as well. And certainly their quarterback did a really good job. But I was very, very impressed with their running game as well.
Oh, they are impressive offensively. To me, look, this is the best team after 7 straight losing seasons in Lincoln. This is Nebraska's best team in a while. They're 5-1, and it's also a team that was giving up 11 points a game. 11 points a game, and they dropped 56 on them.
Half of them with the backup quarterback.
Yes, and the backup quarterback. And that's the thing. It's not just how good the starter is when you have an injury, but how good is the backup. And for 30 minutes, backup. Like I said, I couldn't even tell. I didn't even know that Rourke was out because we were watching a bunch of games, but it had no impact on their offensive efficiency on Saturday. And look, they bet Nebraska. Nebraska is a little bit of a public team. They're far removed from their glory years, but they're still a public team. And well, you know what they have been really bad in? Those one-score losses. This was not a one-score game. So, and I think that had something to do with it. I bet Nebraska. I mean, I thought this is
one of my 5-packs.
I mean, this is they just played a 14-7 game against Rutgers. This is a team that's fine playing ball control. You better score because that crew, and it's just cool to see, man. Confidence is not a light switch, but when you got it, and I mean these teams got it. Two other teams that have it is Army Navy. I mean every week it's Army Navy Indiana, and man they won and covered again. Troy did Army and Navy.
Yeah, and it's shaping up to be an electric game here in my
in New York.
No, it's being played in Landover, Maryland, I believe. The Army Navy game.
No. I'm talking about Notre Dame Navy.
Oh, Notre Dame Navy. Yes. Yeah.
I think it's at Yankee Stadium.
Yes, it is.
MetLife.
Oh, MetLife. Is it MetLife? Okay.
Yeah, but I'm already looking ahead to the Army Navy game here in the Mid Atlantic, and I'll tell you guys, the get-in price is over $300 right now, which is not good for me because I was really wanting to go. And there's I'm sure you've heard of this, but there's a scenario in which you get undefeated Army versus undefeated Navy in the conference championship game a week before the Army Navy game. And I believe the playoff special is the same day or day before the Army Navy game. So you could potentially, and if the other team wins the Army Navy game, you could potentially have two one-loss teams that have split head to head. One being a conference champion and losing the next week. So it's super fascinating. But to this past weekend, we're seeing this, like you said, Army and Navy every week are in that 80% club for spread on tickets. And Navy was minus 16.5, 86% of the tickets were on them to beat Charlotte. That was a win. Army 16.5 against ECU at 82% of the tickets. Army minus 16.5 was the third most popular play by tickets. Like I mentioned, BYU minus 9, Georgia plus 3.5, and then Army minus 16.5. So the public is all over Army. If people say we're not showing enough love to the service academies, I can tell you from the betting perspective, people are this year.
So what it is Championship Saturday, the conference championships, SEC, Big Ten, ACC. They're on that. That's the last day of play, and then the following day on the Sunday they release the playoff teams, and Army Navy play 6 days later. Yeah. So, and it's not going to be. It's already.
It's not.
You can have a team. You can have a team. The Army or Navy can make it, and they won't be playing for anything in that game, huh, Troy? Yeah. So, but you mentioned the 80% club. Who else? Because it went undefeated last week in that public, the big public weekend last weekend.
Yeah, not very many teams. From a money standpoint, only 4 teams, and it wasn't pretty. SMU minus 16.5 at Stanford was the big one at 86% of the money. But then the rest were losses. Iowa State minus 13.5 against UCF at 85%. That was a loss. And then Kentucky minus 1.5, and they did not look good at Florida, 84% of the money. And Texas A&M minus 18.5 at Mississippi State. That line moved around a lot before the game. You could get it, I think, up to minus 20, but they ultimately won by 10. On the tickets, it was a little bit of a flip side. 5 teams backed by at least 80% of the tickets. Navy 16.5 at 86%. SMU 16.5 at 86%. James Madison minus 9.5 at Georgia Southern. That was a surprising line. The Dukes were not in that game at all. Georgia Southern looked very good. Army minus 16.5 at against ECU, 82% of the tickets, and then Iowa State minus 13.5 against Central Florida. So 3-2 this week for the 80% club on the tickets.
All right. Follow Troy on Twitter at Troy Macker. That's Machir. Troy, thank you, buddy. We'll talk to you Friday, previewing the weekend. And what's World Series Game 1? When is
Friday?
Friday.
I was going to say that there's a game at Yankee Stadium Saturday, but it's at Dodger Stadium. They start in Los Angeles. So
they are starting in L.A.?
Yeah. Friday and Saturday in L.A.
There you go. Thank you, Troy.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, don't forget our friends over at MR Property Group. My friends and LSU alums, Miss Miriam Del Rio and Remy Curry. Again, man, that's LSU alums, big sports fans. That makes for a more pleasant experience to partner up with someone with common interests. You know, you ever have one of those horror stories where you like this realtor, I mean, they're talking different language and you went, well, what? They kind of push their preferences and their taste on you. No, or just pushy, period. Well, we're not in, we understand that. We understand that this is a tough decision for you. It's a big decision for you, and when you're buying or selling a property. So being client-centric, not forcing our preferences onto you, but when you ask us and lean on us, we're ready to answer any questions. We understand there are no such thing as dumb questions during this process. And our negotiating for the sellers have been really good. Got the great track record of top dollar per square foot in a lot of areas in the greater Baton Rouge area. MR Property Group with Keller Williams, Red Stick Partners in Baton Rouge, Miriam Del Rio and Remy Curry, 230-4242, 230-4242.
Live at the Beau Rivage, live at lunch.
Got to finally when I was in
You putting your money line parlay together this week, Jimmy. The service academies have been steaming.
Tulane was a sweat though. Against Rice.
SMU, since they made the quarterback change, has not only won every game and
covered.
Not only have they covered every game, they've covered every game by double digits. None of them, all 4 games, none of them have been close.
That's right.
They have demolished everybody since.
Clemson was close to covering again, but Virginia's improved. And gave them a game. They had the lead.
They were scrappy, yeah.
Virginia had the lead in the first half for a little bit. In Miami, those teams are expected to win the rest of their games. What are they going to do?
I think Miami
goes the highest ranked, huh? The highest in the committee poll.
You talking about the ACC championship?
Yeah, I mean all 3 undefeated.
I guess I don't know what the ACC tiebreaker is. I got to look that up, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, when you have a million teams, you can have this can happen now.
Have you read the SEC tiebreaker? I mean,
what is it? If it's 3 teams.
It's nothing I can explain in 30 seconds. Put it that way. Brian Kelly press conference. We're back on the other side here in Biloxi at the Beau Rivage. Live at lunch.
Single thing was
Rouge.
And we return here at the BetMGM Sportsbook at the Beau Rivage. Thank you for being with us today. Brian Kelly talking with the media. Pretty straightforward stuff today. It's kind of refreshing. You have to talk about, knock on wood, a whole bunch of injuries or
this
controversial plays.
This season's gotten a little bit more interesting by the game, huh, Charlie?
Hasn't it though? And there was, like I said, there was no big, hard news updates about injuries or controversial plays or anything like that. It was just kind of straightforward stuff. They talked about the passing game and, some of the progression stuff that they do. You're right, Jimmy. It's getting a lot more interesting. Would you have said, coming out of the bye, going into the Ole Miss game, I don't know if you remember what LSU's odds were to make the playoffs 2 weeks ago as compared to what they are now? Or maybe just how you felt about their chances to make the playoffs 2 weeks ago as opposed to now?
We
know what the odds are now.
Completely different.
Yeah.
The odds are basically pick 'em. LSU is minus 110 to make the playoff.
As is A&M.
How about that?
Yeah.
As is Texas A&M. And guess who's actually a nick higher. Keep in mind, everybody talked about, let's just make sure, when you say you want to be one of the best 12 teams in the country, it's the best 11 in a group of 5.
Right.
Okay, so you got to make that top 11. LSU is tied for 11th in the odds with Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And guess who's minus 120? One little notch above them at 10th. The Fighting Wes Reynolds. Cignetti's.
Indiana.
Yes.
I read a funny tweet, and I can't remember who put it out there. I'd give them credit. It said if Indiana had played the exact same schedule, won by the exact same margins, and everything was the same, but they were wearing Michigan's uniforms, they'd be number 2 in the country right now.
100%. And thank God we don't have to. Michigan was preseason top 10.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, come on.
And they used Michigan, but I think you could have said Ohio State, Texas, Alabama.
But the point is made better because Michigan's not good.
Correct.
Okay,
yeah, right.
They're not good, and they were the national. They were great last year. I mean, but no, they were not good this year. And I mean, the reputation and the branding. Guess who's even money to make Alabama?
All right, before
you know what I mean.
Before I scoff at that,
but I mean, if they go 10-2, Charles, a 10-2 heavyweight in the league, you gonna keep them out?
No, they're a 10-2. We've talked about this a lot. A 10-2 SEC team, not named Missouri, and it's just because of Missouri's schedule. It's not because we hate Missouri. Is probably going to get in the playoff. I've asked the question a number of times. I can't answer it about a 10-3 team that loses in the SEC championship game, but we'll get to that later. The Alabama playoff possibility might come down to the game in Tiger Stadium. They got Missouri this week at home. It's no gimme, but it's a game that they're favored in, and let's give them a win there. What looked like it could be a hairy end to the season, Oklahoma and Auburn, now looks very easy. Mm-hmm. Even for, I know Alabama's not firing on Alabama cylinders right now, but Oklahoma and Auburn are not the really tough games that we thought they might be back in the summer. So if they don't lose this weekend, I don't think they're losing to Oklahoma or Auburn. Those teams are bad right now.
LSU and Alabama are not losing. But Auburn is a rivalry game.
It's the Iron Bowl. They shouldn't have lost last year.
It's in Auburn. That's a big deal. Yeah. No, it's in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah,
they're fine there. Yeah. Auburn. Look at it. The last 20 years, they're way tougher to beat over there than Tuscaloosa.
I think Alabama. So if Alabama doesn't stub their toe this weekend, and then they got a rental win in there somewhere, there's that game in Baton Rouge for them is everything.
Yeah, it could be if LSU, goes into that. If they lose Saturday,
it'll be everything for LSU.
Yeah.
They call the Ole Miss game a playoff elimination game. I didn't really necessarily think of it that way because I thought both teams, they would lose their margin for error, but they would still be in it if they could run the table out. If LSU loses to A&M, then I think the LSU-Alabama game is definitely a playoff elimination game. They'll be favored in the rest of them. Alabama and LSU will be. So I can't scoff too much at those Alabama odds. Now, do I think that they're going to run out? I don't. They're just not playing well enough. I get that they were able to survive against South Carolina, but, man, they're just not they don't look like an Alabama football team. They don't look like –
well, they're just another team. They're not. They're not.
Right.
I mean –
so maybe not they make the playoff. I'm not exactly over the moon about what I've seen out of Tennessee here in the last few weeks. I know they won Saturday, but they've gone their last 3 games, they haven't scored a point in the first half.
That's crazy.
It's a crazy number.
They're not playing well.
Those offensive plays for Nico that's the script. Part of that is the script, at least the first, couple of drives. Those are the plays you feel best about. They haven't been able to execute them. Now, to their credit, they've rallied in the second half of these games. They came up short at Arkansas, but they played better offensively in the second half of these games. But they have been notoriously slow starters. So
yeah,
I'm not sure about that one.
Oregon and Ohio State, as we said, when that game, it's going to be hard for them to lose another game. And those are the biggest odds. Oregon minus 2,500, Ohio State minus 1,200. Then the next 2 choices are, basically 1 to 10, minus 1,000. Texas and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4. Penn State's minus 750.
Well, how big is that game at USC for them? If they'd have lost that game,
oh yeah,
man,
yes.
That would have changed. That would have changed everything because they've got. I don't think they win against Ohio State. I know they get them at home. They would have had to win out other than Ohio State.
So let me tell you this. So Miami and Clemson, Miami's minus $4. I thought they would be higher than that. But they're minus $4. Clemson's minus $3. How you talk about rebounding from the first week?
Yeah.
I mean, and they're winning big too. Notre Dame is minus 250. Tennessee minus 150, Indiana minus 120, and then LSU to A&M are tied for 11th as far as minus 110 apiece, and Alabama is right behind minus 105. Minus 105.
That Miami team, the toughest game they've got remaining is at Georgia Tech besides the ACC championship game. They run the table out and they go 12-0. The ACC championship game is basically for a bye. They'd get in with a 12-1 record as an at-large. So they would be playing, let's say, Clemson in the ACC championship game, and if they both go in there and then haven't lost again, the winner gets a bye, the loser gets in the playoff. Certainly, if the loser's Miami, they get in the playoff.
What's that again?
If they both run out, 11-1 Clemson against 12-0 Miami in the ACC championship game, Miami's into the playoff, win or lose. If they win, they get a bye.
What if SMU keeps winning?
I forgot about SMU. They're not in the ACC, Jimmy. I forgot about SMU.
You know Ole Miss doesn't play Alabama too, Charlie?
Yeah. I forgot about SMU. And I just talked about SMU in the last segment before the break. Yeah, that loss is a non-conference loss for them to BYU. Okay, well, now you got to start going through tiebreakers. I don't know. SMU doesn't play Clemson or Miami, so I don't know. I got to go look at.
I would think it would be the highest ranked teams. In a committee's poll.
The tiebreaker.
How do you not put those in? They don't play each other.
The tiebreakers in the SEC have to do with common opponents and the highest ranked of your highest of your common opponents in the order of the league standings. So I haven't looked at the ACCs. I guess I got homework now to go look and see what it is. But no, I don't know. It's something.
Okay.
A loss to BYU versus a loss.
That's a bad tiebreaker, by the way. Because
common opponents.
Yeah, say you got two common opponents, and one team played them home and away, and the other team played them both at home.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just not.
You got to do something. The highest ranking. You can do that. Clemson's losses to Georgia, BYU, SMU's losses to BYU.
Well, I think the committee would have to take in their rankings have to take all this into consideration.
But for the ACC championship game, there is no committee.
No, but the committee for the poll, Charlie.
Yeah, the poll. Yeah, right.
Okay, so I mean, they're. I would hope that why we don't have any access to that? I mean, is obvious because they don't want them. It would be it'd be like watching Hard Knocks. Really, this GM for the Giants?
Yeah,
no.
They need to be able to speak candidly in that role.
Mara says, "Well, I just don't want Saquon to go to the same division. I don't want to play against him." Oh well, he is.
Yeah. So he's going to have a hard time sleeping. I wonder after what Saquon did yesterday how well he sleeps. The ACC a two-bid league for sure?
No.
But right now you've got three strong contenders.
Because you think about it, I mean, they're favoring all these games. Clemson loses a game, it's a damaging loss. SMU loses a game, it's a damaging loss. SMU, by the way, is they're plus 150. Ole Miss is plus 150.
Yeah. What about Iowa State?
Iowa State is even money.
Took them all the way. It took them 60 full minutes on Saturday, but they got the win.
Well, they were fortunate. That was the last team on money line parlay. I was fortunate. Trust me. Two pick sixes.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't. I mean, that's hard to overcome.
BYU won.
So it was a little flukish,
And BYU is the other undefeated team in the Big 12. Won. They scored a winning touchdown with what? Under a minute.
Yeah, Oklahoma State took the lead with a minute 12 to go.
Something like that.
Yeah. No timeouts. No timeouts, dude.
They come back. They're at 7-0.
Did you hear the play-by-play call of the BYU broadcast team?
No.
Just a tad excited.
Well, I would imagine.
No, it was really...
It was all I could do to stay up. That game ended deep in Friday night. I was a little struggling to stay up.
I was a little tired-eyed right here in this room at the sports book watching it late. But,
it's a quick,
the chairs are comfortable, though. So, it's,
quick turnaround. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And I'm most excited that, you're going to get more than 4 of these teams in. Because you can, and I know we do this every October. Look at all the things, and it'll sort out.
The great thing, it's going to sort out some. There's still going to be an argument made for the 12th, 13th team, as opposed to the 10th or 11th, and so we'll see. I just think the runner-up in the SEC is getting a great spot, but that 5th spot might go to the runner-up in the Big Ten. Because the SEC is cannibalizing itself a little bit.
Yeah.
Ohio State and Oregon went out. They're going to be the 1 and 5 seeds, right?
I'm doing math in my head. Yeah, probably. Especially, yeah, they would be. They would be.
Well, one's got to lose. So if Oregon lose, the loser of the Big Ten championship game Now,
because Texas or Georgia would have to have, under that scenario, would have to have a second loss. So, yeah, and those are the two that you would – those are the two that I
Texas don't deserve – if they have an equal – they don't deserve to get the number 2 seed in the SEC. Come on.
I won't say you're wrong in your opinion, but you may have to stomach that.
If you talk about the one – you look at if there's a couple of 11-1 teams in the SEC, which team doesn't deserve to get in? Which team has the weaker schedule than Texas? Georgia don't have – Georgia's clearly – okay, and they whooped them there too. Okay, so that's it. Tennessee's had a tougher schedule than Texas.
Yeah, you know what they would.
Texas A&M and LSU have.
They would. The best win under that scenario on their schedule would be A&M. If they would get to the SEC championship game at 11-1 and lose to somebody, they would be 11-2. With, let's say they lost the SEC championship game to Georgia by a field goal. Okay, then your two losses would both be to Georgia, who would probably be the national number 1 or 2 seed. But your best win would be A&M. I don't know. Those brand wins against Michigan and Oklahoma won't mean as much. They're just brands. They're not.
You talk about the teams performing way below brands. Who is it? Michigan, Oklahoma, and who?
Florida.
Yeah. Florida. Hey, man,
they're hanging in there though. They're
battling Sun Belt Billy. He's battling. His team is playing for him or themselves or whatever. But that is Kentucky's Kentucky. Big deal, right? Okay. All right. But, Charlie, Kentucky don't get blown out.
Not usually.
Kentucky doesn't get blown out. The way that man coaches and his approach, and they don't beat themselves. They whooped them, man.
So Florida's game against Florida State to end the season now looks a lot easier. They should win that. That's 5. The other 4 games are Georgia, LSU, Texas, and Ole Miss. He's got to win one of those to keep his job.
Yes.
He's got to win one of those.
Yeah.
But if he wins one of those and he's 6-6, he's got a chance.
He's 6-6. You better keep that guy hanging around, man. Why he deserves another year instead of you just buying him out? I mean, does he not? I mean, come on.
Yeah, he probably deserves another year, but that doesn't always matter. It's do they think he can, do they think he can take it to the next level? Because if I was having an exit interview with him at the end of the season, I'd say, why is your roster in the shape that it's in? Are you having staffing problems? Are you not recruiting? Do you not have
Charlie,
enough NIL money?
That roster looks a little better than it did earlier in the year. That's
a little
what I'm
bit
saying.
Better, but it's nowhere near Florida standards for year 3.
Okay, but that looks like a different roster than what I saw against Miami. Just get destroyed. Miami's going toe-to-toe with Cal and Virginia Tech and all these teams, Louisville. I mean, this is is it okay to just let the guy – you don't have to extend him. Nobody's coming to get him. But, they're showing something. Did you expect them to win 3 out of 4, and the one you lose is at Tennessee in overtime?
I did not.
And they gave Tennessee a better game than Alabama?
They probably should have won that game. And, no, I didn't expect that. Again, I would like a candid answer from Billy Napier about why the roster is not better. And I want to know if the answer is there's not enough NIL money here to compete with Georgia and Texas and LSU and Alabama and all that. If that's the answer, then they're going to have a hell of a time hiring a bigger name because there ain't no secrets in the business. They'll know. So if you think you're going to go hire Lane Kiffin or whoever else, you're going to have the same budget.
Well, then USC wasn't spending before, but they gave Lincoln Riley. They did promise him all that.
Yeah.
Okay, they would have to do that. They would have to modernize their approach. Notre Dame for years didn't have to do that.
Right. And what is your revenue share? That's going to be a big deal next year. Are you willing to go max revenue share?
Let's talk about budget.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Okay. What's my budget? From staff to used to be just the staff. Used to be no man. You got to improve your facilities. When Staben was coming here, no, we got to do this, and that.
Yeah. He interviewed LSU, not the other way around. So if they go back to Napier and say, "We gave you all of that," and you didn't win. I don't know if that's the case. Be interesting. Got to win one of those games. Got to win one, at least.
Don't forget our friends over at Total Maintenance. That's right, my buddy Lucas Ragusa. Been knowing Lucas for a long, long time, and man, this guy he works hard, man. Works hard, and it takes a lot of pride in the service that they provide over at Total Maintenance. One of South Louisiana's oldest and largest air conditioner and heating companies at Total Maintenance. Founded in 1980, our team of over 50 with 30 working together for a decade or more offer elite services for AC and heating issues. Again, service today, every day means same-day service. You'll never sleep hot. Call today and get service today. Factory authorized dealer for Carrier, American Standard, Daikin, and Rheem products. Generators, authorized dealer for Generac and Cummings as well. Covering both the Baton Rouge and Metro New Orleans areas, but that doesn't compromise because we've got a completely different Baton Rouge office, completely in New Orleans office, and completely different staffs as well. Our membership programs cover all services with discounts and extended warranties as well. We'll let you know when it's time for your unit to be served. Total Maintenance, yes indeed. And don't forget, one-time heater or AC visit, just $79 instead of $179. That's right. It pays to know Jimmy Ott. There you go, boy. Instead of $179, it's just $79. One-time heater or AC visit. Total Maintenance.
Live at the Beau Rivage, live at lunch, 104.5.
And anything as many will have.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from the Beau Rivage on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Wrapping up here in Biloxi, Pelicans give a 4-year, $112 million extension to Trey Murphy. 14.8 points, 4.9 rebounds a game, 39% three-point shooter for his career. Played in 57 games last season for the Pels, 79 the year before that. 24 years old, be a core building block. I don't know if Brandon Ingram will, but we'll see. The Pels start the season Wednesday night at home at the Blender against the Chicago Bulls. So the season that should start at Christmas is starting on Wednesday.
I am not. But it's something we've been talking about a lot.
Do you give contract this guy extension, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I can see him going somewhere else and just lighting it up, you know.
He is the modern-day NBA prototype. He's long. He's a good shooter. He's a very athletic player. The quintessential 3-and-D guy. And so Pels lock him up for the next 4 years. Thanks to the folks here at the Beau Rivage, Carl and his
good job, Carl. Jack Johnson.
Always being very nice to us.
Good job, Holy Cross Tiger.
Tomorrow we'll be at Mike Anderson Seafood. Hope to see you there. For Jimmy Ott, Jordan Kitchens back in the studio. I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon from the Beau Rivage. This has been Live at Lunch on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.